I'd like to welcome everybody to the Thursday, January 22nd meeting of the York City Historical Architectural Review Board. Roll call. Skian. Present. Zumbrun. Present. Shermeyer.
Here.
McLean Gross, no. Gifford, no. O'Brien, no. Santiago, no. Did everybody who's at the last meeting review the minutes?
Yes. And everybody speak at once.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
I'll second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? If not, I call for a vote. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 The ayes have it. The minutes are accepted. First case tonight, 103 North Newberry Street. Step up to the podium and state your name.
Okay, my name's Steve. I'm the contractor.
You want to speak on what you're...
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if I was waiting for you or waiting for me.
No, I think we're waiting for you.
Okay, yeah, so basically the goal is Ron owns it's a barbershop, right? Salon, beauty salon. And basically the goal is we want to remove 2 of the windows in the front, just like the neighbor next door. Put in a larger window to create more of like a storefront feel. That's our goal. In the past, we've done projects more replacement style, but you guys have approved composite windows in the historic district. So that's what we're looking to use as well.
Is this going to become a shop?
It is a shop currently.
Okay.
He just wants to create more of like this.
Connected internally?
Are they connected? Are the buildings connected internally?
No.
They are not.
So this is not a residence?
Don't believe so. At least not on the first. Do people live on the second floor?
First floor is a business, on the second floor is residential.
Gotcha.
The building on the corner, you're next to a building on the corner that has a corner bay window. It most likely was always a residential commercial property with a storefront. And it probably always had storefront windows there. And even if they are slight modifications of the storefront that would have been their original way that they are designed and basically work with the architectural elements of that building, and they're in a corner building, and they kind of sort of wrap the corner and work in with the storefront, that's architecturally appropriate to that building. I think the idea of adding a picture window in this row house, which is always was residential, and it was always 3 bays, which is basically 3 openings. It's a little problematic.
I think there's just 2. Sorry to interrupt you. I think there is just always has been just 2 windows in there, right? Yeah.
Well, but the facade's 3 bays.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's 3 over what would be called 3 over 3.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. There's a, and it's something the board could probably discuss. There would be a way to possibly add a storefront there, combine these 2 bays into a storefront window, and we really have to think about that and work architecturally with the house. But I think it's something that we would need to see professional drawings and kind of specs for exactly how that would work. I mean, to kind of insert a modern picture window there would not be in keeping with proportions, and as it's sketched on this, would not be in keeping with the proportions of the other openings are the facades. You'd basically be changing or vertically rectangular elements to a horizontally rectangular element, and that is in violation of the design guidelines.
Are you referring to like the grid patterns?
No, I'm referring to even just the opening shape.
The actual
how it's
opening shape?
divided.
I
Right.
think like the bottom two windows, I mean, I didn't measure the windows upstairs because it's a residence, but I believe they're like stacked on top of each other. We essentially want to use the same outside frames of the two windows and just remove the wall in the center. Kind of keeping the opening and keeping in like the, symmetrical to the windows above it. If that makes sense. In essence, we're not really even going to be changing anything to the left of the window or to the right of the window. We're just removing the contents in between.
But what that does is it changes the proportions of the elements of the facade.
Right.
And I'm not saying, and it also breaks up the rhythm of the row. And I'm not saying, and it's really kind of a duplex house is what it is. Yours is the one immediately to the left. The one at the corner is different. It's a brick house. It's similar in style, but it's different scale, proportion. It's a corner building. Whereas yours is basically a double house. So that's something that I think is problematic. I'm not saying that it couldn't be skillfully done, but I think we need a little more detail other than just the sketch here, and it would have to be a little more detailed for how that would work out, and you may design something, you may be able to design something or have a design professional design something for you that is proportionate and works with what you want, and then bring that before the board.
I guess like, how would we make it more proportionate per se?
We can't answer that. I know how it would be done, but it's something you'd have to consult with a design professional on. And we do have design guidelines, the HARB board does online, or the city does online, the York Design Guidelines, which it's been a little while since I looked at them in detail. I mean, they're probably well over 100 or more pages, but it would address basically facade elements like this and how you would do it, how you would modify it. I think this is something that needs design professional assistance. And, because it's a little complicated. At least that's my opinion. I mean, the rest of the board, I'll be quiet and see what you say about it.
The thing that we strive for is that street views of properties remain true to their historic nature. And this design of, we say bays, it means, the vertical elements, the windows or doors, how they line up. That is a particular construction pattern that's typical to this time period. I'm going to guess it's 1885, 1895, somewhere at that time when these were built. And when you change that, when you take out the two windows, you lose that. It's not anywhere close to what would have been appropriate at the time of construction or at the time that the city's ordinance for historic preservation was written back in the 70s. And so I would urge you to just imagine what you could do to put in replacement windows that would be appropriate for the business, and how you would perhaps open them up for the same kind of intention that you have with a storefront window. And when and if you ever go to sell that property, you won't have taken away its historic value as a contributing house in this neighborhood of historic houses. And just again, to say what Mark said to you, that the brick building in the front was most likely always commercial, mixed use, commercial with residents above. And so having different shaped windows would have been original to that building. And so that's kind of the hard news. If we deny the application as you're presenting it, you have the right to appeal at the city council, and they may overturn our recommendation. We're only a recommending body. We have no authority to say yes or no to anybody to what they want to do. And we try to explain why we're making a determination that we're making. So I don't know if anyone else wants to weigh in here, but I think it's a,
it would just be tough for me to even convey to someone like a professional that does this, like how do you preserve it? Like there's no window that's straight. There is like no rhyme or reason between the spacing of the current windows, between the second floor and the first floor. Everything's crooked. It's just painted wood around the window. So what would I collaborate with and say, hey, we have a crooked opening. How do I keep the crooked opening?
Crooked is because the building settled unevenly over time, and that's not.
It's still just like painted wood on the outside. Like the only thing that's historic is like the painted elements that go around the outside of the window.
No, the facade is historic. This facade is pretty much, there's been some modifications to it, but it's pretty much untouched from its original. Now, again, my trying to be flexible is there would be a way that in the era of this house, or kind of immediately thereafter, if somebody was going to put a storefront in it, there are appropriate ways to do that work with the architectural style of the house. I think exactly what you're proposing with just this sketch with a red box, which is all we have to go on at this point, is going to change, is proportionally not in keeping with the vertical proportions of the other elements of the facade. And there would be a way, historical examples, appropriate historical examples throughout the city, probably even in that block, that are storefronts that were added to row houses. Those kind of things can be used as examples to develop a design solution for what you wanted to do here, and then present that before the board. So I'm not, it's something the board would need to think about, but I'm not totally, opposed to it if it's done right. But for example, the proportion of it, the opening may need to be dropped lower, and then it may need to be framed around it with a kind of a simple cornice like occurs on the door of the other windows. Those are the kind of things that would have been done had there been a storefront in that facade from early on in its existence. It would have.
Is there some
proportionally worked with
compelling
the
reason why your client wants to do this?
It's a salon. I mean, he just essentially wants more visibility from the street, just to help improve his business. Like if you owned a barber shop, you'd want a large window out front.
Yeah, that's understood.
one other concern I would have, and this is, beyond our scope in advising, but when you're taking out structural elements between the two existing windows,
Sure.
the building official could require you to get an engineer or architect to design a solution for that greater span, and that's an expense the owner might not be thinking about.
You will need to do that because you will have to put a lintel in there, and they will, which is why I said you're going to need professional plans anyway. So
we know we have to get a permit.
Consult a design professional on this. The permit department's going to require you to.
Our thought process was to use as much of the original opening as possible, just to eliminate the middle. Like, in my opinion, that would be preserving as much historic as possible.
Yeah.
But what it does is this changes the complete proportion of the elements on the facade. So this would need to be reproportioned, and you're going to need structural engineering calculations for a lintel in here. And so the permits department is going to require that anyway.
Right.
So what I think we need to require you to do is consult a design professional and then come back with a design, if you want to pursue the idea of a storefront here, of a storefront that is historically appropriate for the proportions of the facade.
And trimmed.
And trimmed for the proportions of the facade.
So
do that, and you can do it rather simply.
Yeah. Okay. I guess we will attempt to do that.
Now, we could deny it here, or we could just table it pending, and basically, like I
Make a
said,
motion and we table it.
yeah, you're not gonna get through permits without, you know, and it's too bad Carlos isn't here today, but.
We figured we would start here first because if we can't even do the project, we're not gonna apply for permits.
Well, we're part of the permit process.
Okay,
So ultimately, what we need to be reviewing, I mean, this then should be treated as a preliminary review, and we need to be reviewing your final permit drawings. So, you know, and what you're finally proposing. So if you're not even at the point of, you know, applying for permits yet, you haven't even talked to them about what they need to see from you, then it's kind of early on in the process. So, you know, we could table it at this point, say that we preliminary reviewed your design concept and recommend that you consult with a design professional, which you're gonna be required to do for permits anyway, and then bring a design back to us with, it's more appropriate to the architecture of the facade. What's the feeling of the other three board members? I mean, are you inherently opposed to, even if it was a more historically compatible storefront being put at that location? Or are you okay with that, or would you just want to see the two windows buried?
I want the two windows to stay.
Okay.
And I would be amenable to looking at another design, open it up.
is there like a historic professional outside of you guys that I would contact to,
Unfortunately, the board has not had one for 5 years.
so
We
where?
only had a consultant that would have met with you before.
I mean, many
Yeah.
architectural offices will have a staff member who's skilled in appropriate historic design, and hopefully they also have the capacity in-house to do drawings that'll be accepted for the lineal calculations.
Okay.
And so my preference would be the two windows remain, but think of a way of using them so there's no curtains or anything that block a view, that people can look in and see it. And some of that can be accomplished by the way lighting's done inside that we don't have any say over at all. But I will say, however, if you do go the route of having someone design in detail what this is going to look like when it's finished, with all the proportions, so that we can get a better sense of it. I won't say that I will absolutely vote against that. I just much prefer, if it was my property, the simple solution of, you know, having new windows that replace the old windows, and that you do whatever you need to do with lighting and so forth to attract outside attention.
Okay. So you're saying wherever I go to apply for permits for the structural portion, they should have someone to also direct me in the historical route as well?
Yeah, they should, yeah.
Okay, if they don't, where exactly would I go then? That's why I was coming here. I was hoping you guys could give me some guidance.
Right, right. I don't think publicly we can recommend anybody. You know, there are offices in town that can assist you with that. You know, other than online, I don't know, you know, I don't, again, I publicly can't say go to this person or that person.
Okay.
So I don't know, again, if somebody at the permits office can give you names or not. So.
Yeah. I mean, if there's, yeah, we're just kind of lost. We don't really know where to go. Like, we need an approval, but you need some more info, and I can't, you know.
Well, you're gonna need more info for permit, and there are various engineering and architectural offices in town that can help you with that, and not in town. There are smaller ones that would be able to take on a project like this, assist you with it, that kind of thing. There is a preservation consultant that works on her own in town. You know, so, you know, there are some people like that. For example, she might even be able to give you some guidance.
Okay.
You know, so I don't know what she would charge you for it, but that is one person that maybe the permits office can give you the name of.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll try that route.
Okay.
Okay.
So we're
I'm going to make a
tabling it?
motion that we table the application
Yeah,
pending additional information.
Depending on additional information and the presentation of a design that is more architecturally in keeping with the proportions of the openings and the facade of the house
And the trim.
and the trim. Yeah.
I had already made that motion.
Oh, you had? Okay, then.
Do we vote on tabling? We
Oh,
vote?
yeah.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to table the application. Is there any further discussion? If not, I call for a vote. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye. Mark seconded it.
Yeah.
Mark and Mark. Mark made the motion, Mark made the second. I'm changing my name to Mark.
It's not that great.
Okay.
Thank you.
29 South Queen Street.
Good evening, gentlemen. I am an unlucky person. A fire, it could have been much worse, but who knew such a small fire could create such an expensive little bit of damage?
Yeah, I saw this. I didn't know. I was gonna say, is that a fire?
Yep, we could not find the cigarette butt, but the fire chief seems to think, because they do it all the time, people just throw their, cigarette they finished, not squishing it out onto the sidewalk. And there was a little gap, there's a screen, wood frame screen in front of the glass window to protect it from damage. And there was a gap, and we think it rolled in there, and it took out quite a bit. Today, the mason was there doing their work, restoring the bricks that they had knocked out down below and leveling those. And the next step is the window, which is visible from the public way. Pella is going to come in. They're going to we are ordering the same windows you approved for our third floor facade. Of course, my concern is that, there are two windows on that lower level, and we can't replace the other one at the same time because it's the one that vents our boiler. But miraculously, the framed mesh screen was not destroyed, so we'll probably put that back on, so that we have a uniform look down there. The irony is my husband had just spent several months restoring that wood window. The curved wood was fine, but the sides and the bottom had rotted. We had some old growth wood hanging out in his workshop, and he painstakingly restored that window, put new glass in it. It wasn't even in there 4 months. And we liked that window because we could remove it if we needed to, feed any long pieces of lumber or pipes in. Now we have to figure out another solution for that. But, at least I'm putting in a product that, will, suits the house. They're rebuilding, what hasn't been destroyed of the frame in the rounded wood and cedar. That will be done, so it'll be in kind there. The clad window. Down the road, what I'll probably do is put the same clad windows on the second floor because I hate those storm windows, and for ease of cleaning, continuing to give the house a, more uniform look on the facade. But that's where we're at, and one thing I like about Pella is they will not begin work on a property unless they have that certificate of appropriateness.
Right.
And that's what got hung up, on our third floor facade. They didn't realize I had received it. And Nancy remembers all those back and forth. This time they understand I was coming here and taking care of it.
I'll make a motion, we accept the application as presented.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? If not, I call for a vote. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Thank you. Hopefully you won't be seeing me anytime again soon, except for
Except when you
sitting in.
more windows. Thank you.
Jeez.
And the product's appropriate, so it's, not an issue.
Closes the special line.
All right, 305, 309, 311 South George Street.
Hello, my name is Travis Chronister. I'm on behalf of St. Mary's Immaculate Conception Church, just right down the street from here. I'm a parishioner there. I also work for Window World of Central Pennsylvania. So we are looking at, our goal is to preserve the structural nature of the building while trying to achieve long-term durability, all at a cost that is affordable to the church. They are looking at doing a lot of the windows, primarily almost all of them. There is a mixture of old, some new, some middle of the ground windows that are there currently. Their primary concern is the really, really old ones, as well as the ones in the Sunday school and auditorium that somebody had came in years past and put in a window that they shrunk the opening and they built it down with plywood and paint and filler. So our goal is to expand the opening back to the original historical size with all the current proportions that everything has currently. And just using a window that is in line with the church.
I believe there was somebody representing your parish who was here for preliminary review, who went over some of that with us a number of weeks ago, correct?
I believe it might have been Peter.
Yeah, I don't know what exactly what his name was, but yeah, we discussed some of that.
Yes.
And the return of the windows it's basically in the school building, correct?
Yes, yeah, there's only the majority of them in the school building. A lot are down the side of the alley there, and then some up high in the top of the gym.
So they're all going to be, the ones that are currently 1/1 are going to be returned to 1/1 and fill the opening size, correct?
Yeah, correct. Go back to the original size.
And then the gym windows, which are divided light now, are going to be returned to simulated divided light windows, or some of them look like they are replacements already. I can't remember.
Yes, some have already been replaced by previous companies. We can go with the simulated divided, or we can go with the internal grids. I'm not 100% sure. I think they might be internal grids as of now. That's in there, so we can match what's already there with internal grids, or go with the external.
Yeah, we usually require simulated divided lights, so I would think that's what's on there. Now, it looks like you're talking about the upper floor windows of the gymnasium, right?
Yep, so those ones, they have an arch to them. They're single hung, so we can match that same proportion.
They also have frame details, mullion details, all that's going to be retained, and you fit the new unit inside the existing.
Correct.
So that panel mullion would be retained.
Correct.
Yeah, I think my only, hesitancy is when we talked to Peter, we talked about other materials other than vinyl, because we typically don't approve those on the facades of houses, and especially of commercial buildings like this. I don't know, your product is vinyl?
It is. We have a more, the look of ours is more appropriate to a wood look. Our locks sit recessed into the framing like a wood window does. They don't stick and stand out like a cheap vinyl window does. We have metal components in the window as well. And they've explored opportunities to work with a steel window as well as a fiberglass window. Both options were the fiberglass was double the cost for these windows and the steel was triple.
Steel's going to be extremely expensive, yeah.
And I've worked with all the elements with windows and all materials. Fiberglass is strong but does not last long, and steel has a lot of issues with cold, rust, water infiltration, air infiltration. With the church having so many windows and everything is funded by the parishioners and the diocese, it's extremely difficult to budget in proper maintenance of so many windows, especially some up so high.
The windows that are not wooden or divided light that are on the first floor, what are they made out of currently?
So they are a combination. They are vinyl liners, vinyl cladded, and they have slight wood interior.
So they are vinyl clad replacements, essentially.
Yes, they are. So yeah, they have vinyl jambs. Now that window, we currently replace those windows probably 3 days out of the week. They're a very inconsistent window. They fail a lot. They have a lot of air. And these are a lot of students that are part of the church, Sunday school attendees that are dealing with the elements on a daily basis, the heat and cold.
I know there are, and I'll mention this for the board, there are different grades of vinyl windows out there. I mean, this is essentially, I guess what would be called a PVC window. It doesn't have that kind of storm window look on the front of it. It looks more like a historic window.
So ours are designed with a European bevel on the exterior.
Yeah.
So it provides an enhanced look. We have clean, our manufacturer has a robotic cleaning system that keeps the miters very tight. You don't have typical of the cliche cheap look that vinyl windows carry. It's a very, very enhanced profile, as well as, again, the locks sitting recessed, the ability to match the grid styles, keep the proportions of everything. So we're enhancing the structure and the longevity of the historic nature of the building itself. Keeping all the operation, function, looks, and everything exactly the same.
I'm gonna make a motion in as much as these windows that are being replaced are not original and they do not fill the original window opening.
I also did not add some photos, and there's a lot of photos I took, but there are a lot of existing vinyl windows in there now, some that are not of good grade, that we would want to replace, and I had advised them, and the church is fully behind making sure that every window is now brought up to grade.
Okay.
So last comment there.
So let me start over with this motion.
Sorry.
Inasmuch as the applicant is proposing to replace windows that are not original and do not currently fill the original building opening for windows, and given the extensive numbers of windows in this school setting, I believe that we can recommend approval of vinyl.
And it's a high quality vinyl window with historically appropriate details.
And a final thought, looking at the George Street facade, I noticed that 4 lower level windows are already bricked in, so that the street face facade has been significantly altered from its original design.
Did you see the description on section 6 where it says the exterior of each window will be sealed and finished using high performance metal wrapping and premium gauge blah 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 blah.
Yeah, no wrapping.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, water will get behind it, and if the wood is left there, it'll continue to deteriorate it. So if the frames aren't, we prefer that the frames be, if the original frames are there, that they be kept and repaired and restored as much as possible, and the new units are sat within those frames.
Okay.
That basically the stops are pulled, much like we talked about for the gymnasium windows.
Correct.
I think I would add that to the motion, that the second and third, I'll call them floor, I don't know if they're actually floors or they're just stacked within the gymnasium because I've never been in this space. But the second and third level windows in the rear gymnasium portion of the building, that the existing panel mullions frames be retained and restored, and that the new units be sat within those frames, and that they be simulated divided lights with the same grid patterns as the existing windows.
Okay. I do have one question. For the exterior, we have no problem. We can not clad the entire exterior. However, can we do, it's called an L bend. So instead of wrapping the entire wood frame that the windows sit into, you're taking directly from the side of the window just over to the metal. So you're bridging the little bit of gap,
Yeah, you have to bridge the gap with something.
yeah, because the openings are not straight.
It's flashing basically, yeah.
Correct.
Trim.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can use
So
metal.
just not wrap the entire opening, but we're allowed
Right,
to bridge the
correct.
gap.
Yep, you can do that, yeah.
We
Yeah,
call
you
it
have
an
to-
L bend, so.
Yeah, you have to close that gap. Yeah, that's all part of your system, yeah,
Correct.
yeah. Did you
So
get
is that your second with that extra?
my second with the addition, yeah. The additional stipulations. Yeah, this is still raining.
Yep.
Well, other than what you just said, is any, which I have here, is there anything else that's in the amendment?
I think that's,
Because
I don't have anything else.
it says, it says submitted, except for that, what you said about the second and third level.
Right, the second and third level gymnasium windows. We want to be sure that those panel frames are kept in they're simulated divided lights to match the existing grid pattern. And then they had the flashing question that you brought up that needs to be added, that can't wrap the frames in any of the windows, but, you know, any historical frames, but they can bridge with appropriate flashing materials.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded.
It's been moved and seconded.
Okay, is there any further discussion? If not, I call for a vote. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. The motion passes.
Okay.
Last question, for sealant on the exterior, for the window side, white, for the wood trim side, translucent, clear?
You could use, if you have white frames, you could use white sealant everywhere, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but you don't have to do translucent now, you probably wanna do white if you're gonna
Correct.
maintain the white color.
Correct.
Yeah. And everything, so,
Any issues with that?
good.
Just one other comment that's gonna go pretty much over most people's head, but I just can't help myself. I found it so funny that they keep referring to pure virgin vinyl.
Yeah.
Going into what is appropriately called Immaculate Conception Church. So it's, well, just
He's
It's not-
a member of
St.
St.
Patrick's.
Patrick's, so that's.
Gotcha.
But I have family members who are members of
So is that
Immaculate
a full disclosure?
What?
Is that a full disclosure? Yeah, I thought it was immaculate vinyl, but it's actually virgin.
Okay.
It's the same thing canonically.
And don't shoot canonics at
Here's
your
a
windows.
Catholic is
Yeah, it's like, yeah.
over our head. Anyway,
Paleontological inquiry never ceases to abound.
but I'd like to put a plug in for the city council member that is here. You saw an episode tonight of how difficult this is, you know, that's one of the things with our conversations that you guys are gonna be dealing with over the next year or so, but the whole consultant issue, I mean, that, yeah, thank you, and that happens regularly, and this was just another case in point that's something that would have been addressed with them, with the consultant, before it even got to the board level, and they presented something that was, you know, and knows what to do.
6:39 adjournment.
I'm off to hear a
Anyway, it's
lecture
unfair
about
to the
General
applicant.
Lee at the Elks. I didn't even